안녕하세요. 다들 좋은 한 주 보내고 계신가요? 올해 마켓이 크게 오르락내리락해서 많이 불안하시죠? 투자로 크게 성공을 하시고 한평생 투자하는데 보내시면서 수많은 베어 마켓과 리세션 그리고 마켓 크래쉬를 경험하신 분으로부터 오늘의 마켓에 대한 생각과 그분께서 과거에 이런 마켓에 어떻게 대처했으며 이번에 다가오고 있는 리세션 때는 어떻게 대처하고 있는지 들을 수 있다면 많은 분들께 도움이 될 거라는 생각에 짐 로저스를 저희 채널에 다시 초대해서 인터뷰를 하게 되었습니다. 자, 지금 같은 시기에 정말 중요하고 도움이 되는 인사이트들을 많이 나눠주시는 바람에 인터뷰가 길어졌는데요. 제가 전체 인터뷰를 2개의 영상으로 편집하고 번역을 해서 준비를 해봤습니다. 첫 번째 영상에서는 아직도 불안한 요소들이 이렇게 많은 상황에서 마켓이 지금처럼 오를 수 있는 이유와 미연준의 소프트 랜딩이 실현 가능한 일인지, 인플레이션은 이대로 2%대로 내려갈 것인지, 아니면 다시 더 오르게 될 가능성은 있는지, 그리고 내년 2024년 미국 대선이 마켓에 미칠 영향을 나눠주실 거고요. 두 번째 영상에서는 짐 로저스 본인은 현재 이자율이 높은 국채에 투자를 하고 있는지, 만약 그게 아니라면 지금 가장 크게 투자하고 있는 종목은 무엇이며 현금은 어느 정도 들고 있는지, 멜트업의 가능성은 어느 정도로 보시는지, 그리고 어떤 사인을 보고 나면 마켓 크래시가 곧 오겠구나를 눈여겨보는지 등 지금 같은 마켓에 정말 큰 도움이 될 거라고 확신하는 인사이트를 나눠주셨습니다. 지금 투자를 하고 계신다면 스트레스를 많이 받고 힘드실 수도 있겠지만 이 시기 역시 지나가니 너무 걱정하지 마시고 마켓이 크게 내려갈 경우에 그 상황을 어떻게 이용해서 준비를 하면 될지 지금부터라도 계획하시면 된다고 생각을 합니다. 자, 인터뷰에 방해가 되지 않도록 제가 관리할 수 있는 모든 광고들은 빼도록 하겠습니다. 자, 그러면 디스클레이머만 듣고 인터뷰를 보도록 하겠고요. 지금 시킹 알파에서 1년에 239불 하던 서비스를 167불까지 할인하는 프로모션을 한다고 하니 관심 있으신 분들께서는 아래 링크를 클릭하셔서 지금 같은 좋은 기회에 할인을 받으시기 바라겠고요. 시킹 알파의 퀀트 시스템의 창시자께서 시킹 알파 플랫폼을 직접 사용해서 각 분야의 탑 주식들을 찾는 방법을 설명한 영상도 있으니 참고하시면 분명히 큰 도움이 될 거라 생각을 합니다. 그리고 지금 같은 힘든 마켓의 하락으로 저평가되어 매수하기 좋은 기회라고 생각한 제 장기 투자들이나 차트 분석을 통해 마켓의 상향 혹은 하향 트렌드를 기반으로 매도하는 단기 트레이드, 그리고 이미 보유하고 있는 주식들을 단 한 주도 팔지 않고 프리미엄 수익을 내는 커버콜들을 나누고 있는데요. 제 서비스에 관심 있으신 분들께서는 아래 페이트리온 링크를 클릭하셔서 이 힘든 마켓을 함께 잘 견디고 헤쳐나갔으면 좋겠습니다. 제가 만든 컨텐츠들은 어디까지나 정보 전달을 위한 영상들이기 때문에 절대 영상만 보시고 주식들을 매도하지 마시기 바라고요. 본인 스스로 반드시 리서치를 더 하신 다음에 판단을 내리시기 바라겠습니다.
Hello everyone, I'm honored to have one of the greatest known legendary investor of all times, Jim Rogers, on our channel once again. And I'm sure if you have been investing for some time in the stock market now, it would almost be impossible not to know who Jim is. And I thought it would be very helpful to hear Jim's insights on today's market, especially since he has gone through several market crashes and recessions that people are assuming will happen next year or in the very near future. So thank you very much for your time today, Jim.
Well, Andrew, I'm delighted to be here. Good morning here, good evening there.
So I personally had a question that I couldn't figure out and would love to hear your thoughts on it. So although the market keeps going up, I see so many issues in the economy personally, such as still having high inflation that is causing the credit card debt at the highest level in the US history and making situations more worse. I personally think that inflation is not over. It may go higher again. We also have high Fed fund rates that are causing issues for so many companies and also banks, which is, I think, leading to massive layoffs for, the corporations to survive as a company. We also are seeing that banks have approximately, I think, $650 billion unrealized losses due to the fall of the bond prices. And commercial real estate also seems to be in a tough situation with over 1.2 trillion in debt, where 70% of the loans are from regional banks. And if they default, I can see the possibility of so many banks falling as well. With these realistic problems, I would really love to hear your thoughts on why the market is still going up.
Well, Andrew, central banks, by the way, your assessment is exactly right. And when we finally face reality, it's going to be the worst in my lifetime, worst in your lifetime too. We had a problem in 2008 because of too much debt. Andrew, since 2008, the debt has skyrocketed everywhere. Even China has a lot of debt. China bailed the world out in 2008, but now even China has debt. So I don't know who's left. Who can save us? So your assessment is right. The next time it's going to be a very, very serious problem. And the question is when. And by the way, the reason I know you're right is because the Federal Reserve says, oh, don't worry, everything's okay. Those guys have never been right about it. Well, we had a couple of good Fed chairmen in history, but the Fed's been around for over 100 years. So two out of all that time is not a good batting average, not a good record. So we're going to have serious problems. The question is when. It seems to be coming. I see various signs. We see interest rates going higher. We see inflation going higher. We see lots of new investors coming in and saying this is an easy way to make money. I mean, all the classic signs are rising. Well, watch your show to find out when.
Do you think that the inflation is being taken care of by the Fed? And the Fed at the FOMC meeting keeps saying that the soft landing is working and they are on track and you don't have to worry that much. Do you have faith in the Fed?
Most of the guys at the Federal Reserve do not know what they're doing. You know, they couldn't get a real job, so they get a government job. You know, that's why they're working for the government, for goodness sakes. And I hope you know that their track record is abysmal over the past many decades, and it's abysmal again. That's how I know we have problems, because they say everything's under control. And as far as inflation is concerned, they say there's not much inflation. They say it's coming down. The government is telling us that. But people call me or write me all the time and say, where do these guys shop? Prices are going up. Prices are high. And the way markets work, as you well know, Andrew, you go up, you correct, you go up, you correct. And that's what's happening with inflation too. They took some measures. Now we're having the normal correction, the normal reaction. But don't worry, inflation will be back.
So you're anticipating that we will have the inflation going up again. And do you see that happening soon in the future?
No, of course it's coming back. There's huge amounts of money printing going on. That will probably continue. I look out the window and I see all the central banks printing money. Andrew, when things get bad, or when they think things are bad, you think they're going to say, oh, okay, we made a mistake. We give up. We resign. Ha! They're not going to resign. They're going to print money faster and faster and faster and blame it on you. They're going to blame it on somebody, maybe not you, but they're going to blame it on somebody.
I would love to hear your thoughts if you think that there is a manipulation happening for the political reasons, for the elections. So in other words, if we did not have the election next year, do you think we should have been in a recession already, looking at the economy today?
Well, if you go back and look at markets or economies during historically, every year before an election in the U.S., the market has been strong because everybody knows there's an election coming and everybody in the government does their best to make everybody happy. It's happening again, and usually or often what will then happen, of course, as we get closer to the election, there's not much more they can do. And as you know, the market looks ahead, the market discounts, so the market will start getting weak again. So I would suspect that next year things will start getting bad. We see the signs now, but the election they're gearing up. Washington is gearing up for the elections. They don't care about you and me. They care about the election.
So I guess based on your experience in the market, the recession almost never happens, I guess, during the election years because they want to, keep the people happy and get elected and all that. So I guess in 2024, there might be a recession, but it's not that realistic that we might have one in the early part or maybe even on 2024, I guess.
We've always had recessions every few years. There's nothing magic about that statement. It's just something that's always happened. So, Andrew, it's coming. Yes, it's already the longest period in American history without a major recession. So we're overdue time-wise. Now, maybe it's different now. Maybe this is going to last forever. And if you speak to the Federal Reserve or the central bank, they will tell you, don't worry. We know what we're doing. We've solved the problem.
So then, in your case, I'm just curious, since the market is going up these days and a number of stocks are going up, in a market like this where the trend is heading high, do you personally invest and take advantage of the trend going up? Or are you more cautious because you see a lot of companies that are overvalued and are more on the side of keeping cash and just waiting to see how the stock market does?
Well, I have sold sold nearly everything. I mean, I still have a few things here and there, but no, I have sold sold out early, obviously, but it's better to be early than late. And if you don't know that rule, try it a few times and you will learn that it's much better to be too early than too late.
Since you said you were out of a major part of your assets or stocks, since the bond yields are over like 5% these days, with the cash, do you park your money into the high yield bonds to take advantage of that interest rate, or do you not personally buy any bonds for your investments?
It is in money market funds, essentially, because that's the easy way for me. I'm not positive on bonds. You know, in 1980, when we had a problem like this before, interest rates on treasury bills were 21%. That's not a typo. 21% in 1980, coming out of the A-long inflationary bubble. So interest rates can go much, much higher. You said they're high. Well, 5% was high once upon a time, but in the last few decades, the world has learned to have much higher interest rates, and we will have them again.
So you are anticipating that the interest rate on the bonds might go a lot higher than 5% in the near future. Would you be, shorting the market in any way at this point if you see, would there be a sign that you keep an eye on that you're convinced that we're finally at the stage where we're having a crash?
Well, one prediction I will make for you is we will have a
조금이라도 도움이 되셨다면 주위 분들과 나눠주셨으면 너무 고맙겠고요. 구독과 라이크를 해주시면 더욱 감사하겠습니다.